Oh my goodness. I'm Tracy, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, and my sobriety date is March 17th, 2002. And welcome, Bill. I'm glad you're here, and anyone else that's new. I remember being new, and I never want to forget how it feels. And I'm just welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous, and keep coming back for sure. I'm just gonna thank you, Keith, for asking me to share. I haven't told my whole story for a little while. I've been zooming it up, so little short 10-15 minuters, and so it feels really good. I've been a little bit in my head and a little out of control, and my life might be a little unmanageable in the last year probably, or 3 to 4 months. And right before I drove up here, I have an 11-and-a-half-year-old girl, and my husband's out of town, and we got in the biggest screaming match that we've ever had, and face to face, and she's like a total tweenie asshole, excuse my language. I'm sorry if you're offended. And she's as big as me and just in my face, and I lost my cool. It's like, yes, I try. I'm not, it's a dubious, what do they say, of other people, of others, not us, right? And so I did, and I didn't feel good. I feel sick to my stomach, and I know right away, but I cannot, when someone steps on our toes, we retaliate, and that I've held my breath and paused and been really good and a good mother. Not tonight. So I really needed this meeting, probably even more than you do. And when I go home, I get to make an amends because I know how to do this. I knew right away. And guess what? She does too. I'll get home, no expectations, okay? But on my part, I'll make the amends. Now, we've done this before. This isn't our first rodeo, so she'll probably find her part and get to say her amends to me as well, which is like a total gift of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was the tornado, like it talks about before the promises, ripping through the life, never realizing that I was a self-centered a-hole, all this stuff. So I'll just tell you a little bit of what it was like. So I was born and raised in Newport Beach, California, and I started drinking at a very early age and smoking cloves in 6th grade, like how old my daughter is, which is shocking to think of her. It's like I'm such a prude now, and I was such a hooker then. And I do say yes. With the alcohol, everything's a go. You got drugs, you got the booze, whatever it is, yes. So, hit the ground running, the full bar of the parents. The first drink was just chugging, and my girlfriends would be on the lookout. They'd chug. They rode their bicycles away, barfed. I passed out on the couch. That was my first drunk, right? And my dad comes home, sees me on the couch. I don't know how he couldn't smell the alcohol, right? Never said a word about it. I just went away to my bedroom, and that was that. And so that was kind of how it started. Was I like a raging alcoholic from that day on? No, but did I continue to drink alcohol? Yes, and be sneaky about it and steal the tequila from the liquor store at the beach and, play quarters and Mickey's Big Mouth and get naked in 8th grade and black out and someone took advantage of me. Yes, that happened. Did I lie about who got me in 8th grade? Yes, because he wasn't the one I wanted, but because I was blacked out, I don't get the best person, It's like, hello. So that was kind of that piece of work that was happening. But, that's what my friends at that kind of time were doing, the people that I was choosing to hang out with. And, I went on to high school, and we kept doing that kind of thing, and I was, writing notes to get away from school. I was always really good. Hi, you guys. Welcome. Don't be sorry. So glad you're here. I was one of those, like all of us sitting here, too smart for my own good. My mom was always late. My parents are great, whatever. They're fine. I had lots of childhood trauma that had happened. I did have a really crazy uncle. He's now in jail for life. A lot of traumatic things happened to my sister and I. scary stuff, and not feeling protected. And so we didn't tell, none of us told our parents anything. We just thought that we were smarter, we knew better, and we knew how to handle life better. From an early age, we kind of were a little pack, and we just didn't share stuff with them. And, that was just like, and I can't even really tell you why. It just seemed like, my sister says, I knew at 2 years old that I knew more than our mother, which is really a weird thing to say. I didn't have that same feeling. I just never had that relationship with her. And I have a different one with my daughter, and because of Alcoholics Anonymous. And, we can fight and make that amends like I talked about and be okay and grow from it. And then I get to see like, okay, next time I can do better. I don't beat myself up. But I didn't have that with my mom. And so I just try to do better in this new life that I got through Alcoholics Anonymous. And so we didn't tell her all the stuff that was happening. And so I did get a boyfriend. I had a really good picker. That's being very sarcastic. And I always had a boyfriend, and I had this guy, and he was an abusive guy. He was an alcoholic isn't going to really hang out with someone that's not another alcoholic, right? It doesn't last that long if you're drinking like that. So we liked to party. It was all about fashion and music. So we'd go to Fender's Ballroom, and we'd go up to LA. This is before I had moved up to LA. And so, at like 13, 14, we were driving up to LA and going to the rock and roll, punk rock concerts and sneaking in. And, it was like places where I didn't need an ID, and we'd stay late and sneak back home, or I was always staying at someone's house, and then I never really had a place to stay, or we'd just work it out or party all night. That's kind of what those later high school years looked like, and it was really fun, It was like I said, fashion and music and fun and hardcore, and, a lot of great stories that I can remember. Half of them I really can't. I do remember that I got left at the Olympic Ballroom in downtown LA. It's a really seedy neighborhood, super scary now. And everybody thought I got ride home with them, and I was left up there. And, I had to hitchhike home, and it was like a scary night, but it doesn't ever stop me. My consequences, I never thought like that was a rape in the 8th grade, or that this other time that this happened at a bar where I was blacked out and someone took advantage of me, that was like a rape. I always felt shame and humiliation from an early age, like it was my fault, like I deserve it, or I was drunk, and it was my fault. And even when I went to the doctor and she said, did something happen to you? Because I was crying, I just couldn't tell her, because it was like, oh, I did it was my fault, So that was always, that shame had already begun, and really stuck with me through my life. And, I was, like I said, I was good at school. I never really, believed in a God or anything like that. I was too cool for God, So when I got here and I saw that God, it was like, that was really a scary thing for me. I actually had to slash it out in my book, because I didn't for whatever reason, I don't really have a reason. I just think I thought I was too cool, right? But when I was, about to get arrested, or if a police was behind me and I was driving, there was a God all of a sudden. I'd be like, please God, let me get through this, Please God, let me not go to jail. Please God, in those kind of places, when I was left in the bushes or left in the lurch, all of a sudden this God, would show up. It's like whenever it was, for me, would work out for my benefit, which is very interesting and peculiar. But my mom was raised Catholic, and my sister is called. One day the bus driver would come to pick us up to church when we were younger, and then one day they said, just tell her we're not going. And so I had to be the one. I was the youngest, 6 years younger than my older sisters, and I was like, oh, we're not going today. And then she just never came back again, and that was it. So no big deal. I never thought about it again, and it was like Sunday school or whatever. And, so that is a lot of, drugs are also part of my story. Alcohol started. It's a lot of all of it. Never enough for me at this point. And like I said, I was always really good in school. I could not do too much and still get by and get decent grades and stuff. So it came easy to me. So I didn't have to try that hard. And like I said, my mom was always late, and so she would say excuse Tracy for being late, and then I'd leave a space and have her sign, and then I'd say, and please let her out at noon today, every day, and nobody ever said anything. I mean, never said one thing. I never got caught. And I graduated high school. I went to college. Like, I just thought, I knew from the gate, nobody told me I had to go to college. I just knew I was going to college and that's what I was to do. And so I filled out my things. I wanted to be close to my boyfriend. So I went to Long Beach State because I was, codependent. God forbid. And, he'd probably like track me down and kill me if I went somewhere else, like for real. So I went to Long Beach State, and then I, of course, like a good little codependent girlfriend, I got him in the art department there, so he could go with me. And so we went to college together, and then I left him finally. I got the courage to leave him, and that was like pretty traumatic and a lot of, crazy stories. That's all I can say. And a lot of stalking and fights and things like that. And he actually, not that long after that, he OD'd, and it was one of those things where he hadn't used for a while, and then he used, and he was alone, and he passed out in his kitchen and died, and his co-workers found him like 2 days later. And his mother blamed me for his death for a very long time. And I knew it. I wasn't invited to the funeral. I couldn't go to the boat to spread his ashes. I wasn't wanted. And she said, "You've done enough," So that, it hurts still. It's like, whoa. But what did I do? Like, pour, whiff, shove it down, shove it down, because that's how I like to roll. Like, I'm fine, I've got this, I'm good. I've got my superpowers right next to me. As long as I have this, I'm okay. I can't feel anything. It's like my numbing. I love that. I love not to have feelings. And that's just who I am. I'm cellularly, I do believe I'm cellularly different than others. Like, when I take a drink, the drink takes me, and that is for real. And I have no control. And so I almost have 20 years in March, which is a long freaking time, That's crazy to not have that sort of solution. But because of Alcoholics Anonymous and the fellowship that I found in here and the sanity and the life that I have today, like, I don't need that. I don't go to that place where that needs to fill my body and take over everything else, because I get to deal with my life, and plus I wouldn't be here right now. Like, I would totally be dead. I know that for a fact. And so, I graduated that college. Of course, I got a new boyfriend right away, had a new boyfriend, never not having a partner, right? And same kind of guy, just a little bit better, but very jealous and also abusive. And I'm a lifer, so we were together for a long time, as well as the last guy that OD'd. So we're together for quite a long time. At this point, I had graduated from college and got an internship and started working in Hollywood in the music business. And the music business, it's nighttime, it's fun, it's a perfect place for an alcoholic like me. It just it fed everything, and it was what I was already doing since I was 13, was going out to clubs, listening to bands, and finding where the best show was going to be. So, I had my dream job. It wasn't even like in my lane, like it was an accident. It was an internship, and I picked it from my college that I went to, and then that record label got bought by a major record label, and so I started to go to Hollywood and work, and then they liked me. I was a really hard worker, I was smart, I was fun, I had yellow hair, and they hired me to, for a really nice position. And so then started some other things that I started using on a daily basis to keep up with the work, right? When you party all night and then you have to go to a day job. So I started mixing lots of things with all my alcohol to keep that pace going. That was fun, like really fun for a while, If you talk to my friends, they wouldn't say that. It was very fun for them. There's a lot of having to take care of me, and they wanted to get me like a sparkly helmet, because I used to fall down all the time, and pick me from the bar stool and drive me home. But I had a really good assistant, and she would make sure and take my keys and get me home and everything. So and at an early age, I really did, now I can look back and see that the burnout was happening really quickly for me. And just to, the nights were really long, and like, you know, there's so many stories that were just like, and I never really realized that I was like an alcoholic. It didn't like, I wasn't one of those alcoholics that it's like, I know what's wrong with me, forget you, I don't care. You know, I was in denial, like deep denial. Like I did not see it. I didn't know, I didn't think I had a problem. I was having fun, but at this point it really did start to affect my life and my relationships, you know. I mean, not with the poor, even with the poor picker of the boyfriends and things like that, but people were like expressing some worry, and, you know, you'd think like people like, you know, picking me up off the floor and lots of cuts and emergency room visits and things like that would be like a sign that there's a problem, you know, but nobody really ever said anything to me, because they knew if they had, I would have just been like, you know, like aced them out of my life, or for whatever reason they didn't tell me. And when I did come to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I like to tell this story because it was so baffling to me, that I said to my friend, I was like, oh my gosh, I know what's wrong with me. I know what's wrong with me. I'm an alcoholic. And she goes, yes, everybody knows that. Can you believe that? Oh, I was so mad. I was mortified. I was like, what? Like even now, my hair sticks up, my face even. I was shocked. And it was like, how do you not know that? But I didn't. And I was mad at her too. And then I was like, you know, this like bird puffing up, like, why didn't you tell me? It's like, you wouldn't have listened, you know, we have to come here on our own time, on our own will, else it doesn't work. And I've seen that time and time again, you know, the parents that try to get the kids into rehab, or the people that keep going to rehab but they don't really want to, you know. And I know, like, from my insides, like to my core, like, if you're not willing to go to any lengths and say yes and try something different, just one day at a time, that's all you have to do. You have to try to do something different. But if you're not into it, it's not going to happen. So, you know, and I had no desire. I didn't even know I was an alcoholic, so why would I ever even want to get sober? So I just switched friends, right? Like the book talks about. You just switch around, you know, and move around to different, they're kind of sick of you, so you go over here to this group or whatever. And so I was traveling a lot with bands, and, you know, like I said, it makes it really easy for an alcoholic because everybody's partying. But, you know, this is my work, you know, and there was no respect for that work at all. And or the people around me, or my job for that matter. I mean, like, my guys would look at me and want to be driven somewhere, or want to go somewhere, and they'd look at me and they'd be like, oh, you're already drunk, you know, oh, you're already wasted. And it's like, you know, so they'd have to go somewhere else. And I had another boyfriend who used to say, he'd look at me and he knew if I didn't have lipstick on, and also like he could look and see, like, 1 minute my eyes would be one way and the next they would be like glassed over, you know, that glassy look where I'm just gone, like not even there. I'm awake, but I'm in a total blackout. That happened to me all the time. That's what was happening in this point. I would be driving in a blackout, like literally wake up driving, right? And one of these times, still chills, because it's like, I never want to have to do that again. And that's who I am. Fighting about the keys. No, I can drive. I got lost up in the hills. It was raining, and I hit a parked truck. It was probably 3 a.m. Like, who knows how long I was driving around up there. I mean, oh my God, so scary. And like, you're out there. I mean, maybe not at 3 a.m, but there's like regular nice people going to work at that time, or nurses, doctors, whatever. And I hit the parked car, and I woke up. It's pouring rain. I'm just like, oh. So of course, what do? You run, like, and try to keep driving, you know. I'm up. And I was going down the hill, and then the tire started to go, blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's like a piece of metal in the tire. So I pulled over, and then what do I do next? Call my friends that I knew were still awake, you know, and they came and got me, and I left my car there. And the next morning, I knew I was in trouble because it was bad. And my dad was an insurance agent, and he was dying of cancer. So I had already from this point moved from Capitol Records. I moved to New York, and I had moved back because he was dying of cancer. It's a great daughter, right? Showing up for my dad when I'm just like never home. I'm just doing this, this, and this. Then I have to call him and tell him that I hit a car because he's my insurance agent. Like, who else is gonna do my insurance? And then I had my friends go drive by the car. I was in Brentwood, and they were so nice. They didn't live anywhere near Brentwood. They had a newborn baby, and they said, "It's really bad, Tracy. There's police all over your car, and they're looking in the windows, and it's really bad." Oh my God. Talk about like my heart going to the floor. I was so scared. I was at work. I mean, just reeking of alcohol. I partied all night to just pretend it didn't happen. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And they're like, I really think you know, what should we do? I'm putting them in this crazy place. You know what I mean? They have a newborn baby, and they're like, what should we do? And I was like, I don't know. So they talked to the investigator. They got his card. They said, you should call. We said, okay. I said, go talk to him. And they said, oh, we know the girl, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, because I'm really good at lying, too. Did I tell you that? Super master manipulator. I can get away with everything. I'm really good at it. I'm sure you can't relate. And so, shake, and call him. You know, I said it was raining. I left the note, you know, but of course it's raining, I didn't know what to do, all this stuff. And so the craziest story about this isn't the first time this has happened, but it's like God doing for me what I can't do for myself, which I wasn't present enough because I was still wasted. But this was like one of these God moments where this was like one of the scariest times of my life, but only because I was so scared for my benefit, right? Like I was going to get in real trouble. Selfish, not thinking of anybody else, just how it's affecting me, right? Because that's all I could think about is how it affects me, what it looks like, all that, me. And not even thinking about my dad having cancer. But I did finally call him. I told him I had an accident, and you know, I got an attorney. And then I had to deal with my office too, because I didn't want them to find out. It was just like nuts. But then the guy's work truck that was like these $1 million houses up there, he called me and I talked to him, and he said, you know, he goes, were you drunk? I think he said a few things before that, and he goes, were you drinking? And like, I would never admit to anybody that I was ever drinking. Why would I do that? Like, then I'm going to get arrested or get in trouble. I was a big liar. I could never be truthful, with myself, much less you. No, it was raining. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I got lost up in the hills. I tried to write a note. Well, the owner of the house wants to make an example of you and sue you because a lot of kids, these rich kids, drive reckless up there and are causing a lot of damage. And he wants to make an example of you. And, you know, I'm just wondering if you wanted to have coffee and talk about it, because I have, basically he was 12-stepping me, and I didn't know this until later that he was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he wanted to try to help me. But he was asking me in every way I know now that we ask a fellow alcoholic if they would like help or if I can have a conversation with you about alcoholism. But I was so scared. There's no way that was coming in, because you're going to get me if I say yes, right? Like, you're going to get me. So I know I'm not having coffee with you. Never. No. So I got the attorney, worked it out. Never saw that person. I mean, maybe I saw him in a meeting 100 times. I have no idea who this person was, right? I just crashed his truck. It all got taken care of. But the craziest thing is that they were going to charge me with hit and run because my car, stopped just a mile past the car that I crashed. And a hit and run, I think, is technically if you go past a mile or something crazy. So they really wanted to throw the book at me and all this, you know. And I was so scared for I had to tell the attorney at my office and all this crazy stuff. So, my dad had cancer, so it's the pity party. Pour me another drink, right? And so, we got through that, and my dad died, and no, I didn't get sober before my dad died. And but I was a good daughter. I sat with him in the hospital. I held his hand. He wasn't much of a talker. I did get to be with him. But it just gave me more ammunition to really just bury myself in alcohol. Like I was killing myself, like I really was at this point. And then, I have a best friend who drowned on the 4th of July, a year after my dad passed away. And at this point in my career, I had, I was back in California, and I'm not saying this to be braggy, I'm just saying because this is like my getting close to the bottom, and it really, I just think that God works in such wild ways, because they paid me to not work for a year to secure this job that they wanted me in. And so like you give somebody nothing to do, a person like me, and money, and your friend, your dad's dying and your best friend drowned, most likely probably on cocaine and alcohol, and drowned on 4th of July. It's like on, right? And so we like built a compound. My friends, we never left. We just drank and did our thing for so long, and people would come and knock on the door. My mom, not people, my mom and my sister, people that cared about me, to try to pull me out. And, it was just wild. And that it was not fun at that point, it wasn't. And I would start, like, if you stopped partying, I would go look for or bang on the window of someone else to, like, come on, nobody could keep up with me. My worst alcoholic friend was like, get out of my house, like, leave. Like, oh my gosh, I can't take you anymore. I mean, and I always knew he was way worse than me, like so much worse than me. So that was like hurtful. I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I just started to hang out with the drug dealer, of course, doing runs with him and how he'd fill my alcohol. And, and the book talks all about those lower companions, where we move along into, and then going to the bars by myself and doing all that, hiding in my closet. And then it just became a very small world, right? My world became very small. And, I got fired. I finally got fired from this job because I didn't show up. I was a point person for a very big event, and I did not show up. And there's a lot of people that flew in internationally for this event, and I was not there to be the point person. And then the next day I lied about it. I actually said that I was there. I mean, oh my gosh, okay? Like, no. And then they called me in and they fired me. I mean, what? You get me? You're gonna fire me? I built this whole department. Like, I made this place, like, I mean, the ego and the selfish, self-centered, like, just can never look at myself, never really see my part in it. Yes, I did do great things for this company, but yes, I deserve to be fired, and it's just, but I just, oh my gosh, the self-righteous, just that ego, like, how do they? But after they let me go, they fired me, well, blah, 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 once you fired, and I knew he was a big coke addict, so I was like, blah, 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 blah. It's like so stupid. And the best thing for me too, because like I was killing myself. I know that now. And so this was the first time though, but only because I got fired, and I knew one person, I think, sued the company, because we were working 24/7. It was busy, a lot of, like, I think, I did a lot of work. And I called the human resource person and I said, I think I have a problem. And I only remember this, like, I mean, it's been a long time, but not in my first years of recovery. I think I have a problem. Can you help me? And she said no and hung up. Because at that point I wasn't, part of their company. They weren't liable for me. They had fired me. Had I asked her the day before, you know what I mean? And I know somebody that did get help from them. So there's, more resentment, right? And like, and more reason to like dig in. But that was the first time that I remember like thinking like, something, I need help maybe. But then that lasted like, a hot second. I'm back on the roll again. And so, just a lot of stories like that, like nonstop, just craziness, crazy. And what happened was my best friend's mother, her name is Carrie White. She's my grand sponsor. One night was another just, crazy night, and she came and plucked her daughter out from where we were partying and took her to rehab, to the Friendly House, which is in Los Angeles. And she was going to stay there for 30 days. And, I never went, I did. You could visit her, and so I did go and visit her one time. And she was all dressed in white, and she looked so different. And her face was like kind of glowing, and her eyes were clear, and she was smiling. It freaked me out. I never went back. I was like, oh my God. And she told me she was going to stay 90 days. Like, she wanted to stay longer. I did tell you, she's like dressed in white. Like, we didn't dress in white. Like, I'm still dressed in black. You should have seen what I had on. I haven't been out, you guys, in a long time. I have a kid. I feel like this pandemic. I had like black fishnets on and boots, and I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of look like a Halloween costume right now. So, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? The big screaming match with my daughter. And so anyways, I put my sneakers on, I feel much better. But she looked like a different person, and that freaked me out. And I ran, and like I said, I never went and saw her again. But she got out, and I don't know, probably like 6 months later, her mom was speaking at a meeting, and she asked if I would go with her, if I would support her. So yeah, I can show up for you. I'm a good friend. I still, of course. So Carrie White was speaking at 3rd and Gardner in West Hollywood, and I showed up. I was still up from the night before, reeking of alcohol, of course. We went there, and this was a big meeting, and I saw so many of my friends. It's like, oh my God, I thought you were dead, they're not at the bar anymore. So you just well, first of all, I didn't care. All I cared about is getting straight to the bar and drinking. So it's not like I really noticed who was there and who wasn't there, because it was just about me. And, but so many people were there, sober. Wow, that was crazy. So it was a really, and cute guys. So that was nice. That was a nice perk, that there was cute guys. So I always like that. A little boy crazy. And so she spoke, didn't hear one word she said. But at the end of the meeting, and it was packed, right? And people were sitting on the floors, and I was puffy and red-faced and sweaty. These were not good days, right? And then we all held hands and said the prayer. And I just remember, I felt like it was the first breath I had ever taken, really, but I had taken in a long time, a real serious, and my shoulders just went down, that surrender. Now I know that's that surrender where I'm just oh my gosh. You can, that whole, it's such work, that 24/7 hustle, just getting the stuff, and pretending you're okay, the not smelling of alcohol, the gum, the this, the that, the hiding it in the drawer, the scared of the cops, the pretend you're okay with your friend. It's just a lot of work, and I was so tired. And so that prayer, that's what I remember from that first meeting, and all my friends, oh my God. And that was huge. And so after the meeting, we did fellowship, and we went to a place called Angelina's. And this girl from New York said, I'm going to be a sponsor. And I didn't even say I wanted her as a sponsor. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't go to that meeting to get sober. I went to support my girlfriend. So, but all of a sudden I said, okay, I didn't even know what a sponsor was, right? It wasn't like I had been coming in and out of AA. And I just said, okay. And there it was, that reprieve, that I don't know why I didn't say, or I'm fine. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm here for her. I said, okay. And therein lies that moment where I get that gift, that I get out of my own way and I let something bigger than me help me. And so that started that journey. And she said, we're going to go to this meeting in the log cabin in the morning, and you're going to do this and work, and I was just like, okay, I didn't know what any of that meant. And so that's really where my love of Alcoholics Anonymous started, was an accident, like a beautiful, messy accident, because I would definitely not be here. And thank God I had people that were in Alcoholics Anonymous that invited me to that meeting, and so I just started doing what she said. That's all I did. I didn't know anything, and like I said, I crossed out God, 'cause too cool for God. It was scary, like, ugh. Now I could care less. Like, I call it my God, this sunlight of the spirit, the universe. Like, it's so much bigger, and it's grown so much in these 19 years, and I keep seeking. And I did do 90 meetings in 90 days. In fact, I did 2 years of meetings where I would drive from Hollywood to the log cabin, which is kind of across town, for a 7 a.m. meeting, and then I'd go to the social night meeting, and I did that every day for 2 years. And I stayed sober. I stayed sober because I jumped in. I started to do the work, reach out. I loved being a greeter. I'm a social person, so I like seeing people and saying hello. So I did kind of ride that pink cloud in the first year. I was pretty high, like so excited of this new life. I changed everything in my drawers because certain drawers reminded me of certain things. I started to run. I started to sponsor, and that was like crazy, life-changing. And I remember when my first sponsee went out, and I know her whole story and her boyfriend's story, and I know how tragic it is. And when she told me that they were both out and it's going to be okay, it's like I was crying. I was so scared for them, and then I call an old timer and she's like, yeah, that's what happens. I'm like, bitch, no feelings. God, hardcore, But it's like, oh my gosh, we were just talking about this, and thank you, Sandy, for coming up with me. We were just talking about this on the way up. It's like, I've learned, and I really want you to get it, and I stick with you for a long time, but it's really like the easier, softer way. And the people that are willing, it's like, okay, we just have to go to the willing participants in their own sobriety. And I worked harder than a lot of my sponsees did for a long time, and now I'm at a place where I can't do that. So that's good, because I was like, getting a little, I don't want to say burnout, but I was working harder than they were. And it's not supposed to be that way. We have to work hard. I had to work hard for this sobriety that I hold and protect so dearly. And during the summer, a lot of times I get a little crotchety because it's hard to get away from meetings. And it was Zoom this summer. But just to tell myself, still I have my daughter by my side the whole time. And then my mom, is a whole different story. We need another meeting for that. But, it's like, but a Zoom is right there. It's like a click away. And I still didn't get to enough meetings. So I came back to Texas, and I was irritable, discontent, a little crotchety, grumpy. And so I just plugged right back in, and thank you so much again, because it's so good to be in an AA meeting and just see all your gorgeous faces. I love you all so much. And just know that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I know that, but when I step away a little bit, I feel it, I feel uneasy, and I don't feel that sunlight of the spirit and that serenity and surrender. I take my will back is what happens, right? I start, the boss, the control stuff starts to come in, the fear, a lot of fear. And, now I have this daughter that, I had, I talked about earlier, I had stuff happen to me when I was young, so I don't want to project that fear onto her and, protect her so much that she can't live her own life. But I have to maintain that balance, that perfect balance that I was talking about earlier, like I do in AA. It's not just black or white, and it's when we go off the beam, it's this balance. And I on a daily basis, that's really what I pray, meditate about, is staying in balance. And today wasn't one of those days. I stayed in balance as long as I could, until I exploded. And I walked away and instantly felt so sick in my stomach, and I wanted to go back right away, because that's how long now it takes me to know, because I don't have to make amends too much anymore, because I know better. I know I'm going to have to make an amends, so I don't do that many things that I have to make amends for. And so I was in the bathroom, and we were like about to leave, and she's going to go to softball, and it just wasn't right. It wasn't authentic. It wasn't a time to shove in an apology at that moment. And I know when I come home tonight that we will be fine, and I'm not going to be wasted, and she's going to see me and be clear-eyed and know that I feel bad for my part in my overaction and scaring her and yelling, because we're not a yelling family at all. And so if I yell, it really sends her over, and it's hard for her to come down. So it's great that we got to separate, and then we get time to come back. And I do that with my husband too in my relationship. I don't just blurt out you need to be doing this, or this is bugging me. I take a step back. I call my sponsor. I say yeah, I think all those things, or I really think mean things I want to say, but I don't say them, I think about it, oh, I'm so mean. I'm really mean and critical. And of course, I think the way, it talks about in the book, the actor, if you just do everything the way I think you should do it, it'll all turn out perfectly. So I still have problems with that today, arranging the pieces and making it all work properly. I'm a doer, I'm an organizer, that's my role in the family. I get things done. And so I have to watch myself, because then I can also get cocky and not let room for others to participate and communicate their feelings or their wants or wishes, And this is all because of Alcoholics Anonymous, that I have been able to set these boundaries, get help, continue to seek, and know that even today, 19 plus years sobriety, my life can still be unmanageable, but the time that I allow it to be is not that much. You know what I mean? I know what to do with the tools that I've been given. And the cake is my life, and the icing is the promises, right? And the promises have really come true in my life. And I met my husband online, again, just like God. I was too cool for online dating. 13, 14 years ago. But my sponsor set me up a profile, and I didn't want anything to do with any AA men anymore. That was my thing. No, I want a normal person, right? That's what I said. And so she sets me up with this online dating. So I was writing a book, because the first 5 dates I went on were the craziest dates ever. I mean, and I decided I was only going to do what I wanted to do. So I'll just tell, one of them was a tennis pro, and then when we were playing I'm okay, I want to play tennis. He turned out to be a porn star director. And then the other one, we went surfing, and he was living in Hawaii, and then he was back in LA, and we went surfing, and he was couch surfing. Basically, he was homeless. I mean, it's oh my God, stop and go, stop and go. Then Matt was my 5th person, and he was cute. He liked good music. He was a lawyer. I thought, oh, boring. Oh my God. And, this is my ego, I don't even know what's good for me. I've had abusive boyfriends my whole life. I have the worst picker. And I went on the best date of my life with this person, and I called my sponsor, and I said it was the best date of my life. But he's not for me. I tried to ditch him 3 times. We're married, we have a kid now, I'm serious, I tried to get rid of him 3 times, thank you God, And the last time he's he's so steady, and I'm the crazy one, and he's the stable, always in a good mood, that. And but the other, quickly, I just want to tell you, just God as well, is that on our 3rd date, we were at we were going to Dodger Stadium, and I said, because neither one of us had drank on the date, and it's just kind of weird, you don't drink on a first date, right? And not that I would drink, but him. And so on the 3rd date, I was oh, are you bringing your ID? And he's I don't know, do you want to bring it or whatever? We don't really need it to get in. I was okay. And then we went out to a Mexican restaurant, and he said he has to go to a meeting, and basically we both just said oh, are you in AA? Yes. You're in AA? Yes. Well, I go to meetings. Well, so do I. Oh my God, da da da, blah blah blah. So he was totally sober, And I didn't 13 step him. He only had 9 months sobriety. I had 6 years. But it was like one of those like crazy, you couldn't have manufactured that situation. And he was perfect. You know, he's perfect for me. And a sober husband works for me. You know, we have this life. She's never seen either one of us drunk. We have this child, you know, all because I said yes. I said, yes, I'll try that. Yes, I'll do something different. I'll get out of my own way and I'll do something different and I get a different result. I was pushing him away. And my mom's like, he's a really good guy. They're really not that easy to find. And he was about ready to let me go and say, like, I think we have a really great thing, Tracy, but if you're not into me, I'll leave. I'm a big boy. I'll take, you know. And I was like, whoa, he's going to leave me. I better keep him, you know. Whoa. Now he's sexy. Right? Like, poor guy. Oh my gosh. So we're still married, and he's at an AA retreat, and I had a screaming match with our daughter, and I'll make amends, and you know, it's just like such a blessing, this life, and like I said, the promises have come true, and I just, you know, I feel like there's, my grand sponsor says there's like two wolves, there's a dark and a light, and the one you feed wins, right? And I just love that, because it's like, I know that to be a fact. And I'm feeding into my sobriety, and, you know, the emotional sobriety is even more important now, because I'm a little bit further away from the drink, but I can get mad, you know, like, ask Sandy. I was so mad after we were on our way here at my daughter, and a mosquito landed on me, and I fucking killed that mosquito with such a vengeance. She was like, whoa. So I'm not perfect, but I'm just doing the best I can with what I've got, and I'm being honest, rigorously honest. I have to tell on myself. I can't keep secrets, else I lose this. The secrets will kill me. I know that. They'll physically make me sick, and then I'm going to do something to harm myself, which I've been in that place as well with the secret. Wanted to drive off a cliff, not drink, but kill myself, drive off a cliff. Told somebody, my sponsor, I said, I want to drink, and she goes, you're an alcoholic. Of course you want to drink. You know, I thought I should be perfect. You know, I shouldn't have to want to drink now, like at 2 years in sobriety. So I told her, and she said that and was like laughing and made like, not light of it, but like I was going to jump. I was going to take my car off a cliff, and all I had to do was say that and feel so much better, and my shoulders went down again, and we went to a meeting. So sharing, get your shit out, tell somebody, get a sponsor, get commitments. That's how I do it. Stay honest, and, you know, trust in others, trust in God, trust in anything other than yourself. That's what helped me and saved my life. And I really appreciate all of you, and thank you for having me, and I hope you all go to bed clean and sober tonight.